Greetings. This is General CJG here, coming to you with, our own video discussing the recently announced Knights of the Old Republic 1 remake that came out of nowhere, was announced at a PlayStation event 2 days ago, and it was one of those announcements in that event that pretty much rocked the internet. So, and because this is State of Star Wars, of course, we have to talk about it. So, joining me here is...
Yeah, Django Fett, super fan of the Knights of the Republic series, and a lover of the first game, especially.
Indeed. And we also have...
Jedi Knight Luke here, guys. Glad to be back and to just reference a very iconic quote from the original KOTOR one. Yes?
I see which one you're talking about. So, there's that. Anyway, so let's begin. So, I think the very first thing we should discuss is our reaction to it, our thoughts on it. So, who wants to go first?
Okay. So, initially, I didn't think this would actually happen regarding this remake because, as you know, with Aspyr Media, they're known for remasters, and they've already done it with KOTOR 1 and 2. So, in that regards, I didn't really believe it because, you know, Jason Schreier announced it, and it's going to be a remaster back in, I think it's April, and or it was a remake. But I couldn't believe it. But now that it's happened, and you could hear from the Aspyr Media people, there's a couple of interviews out there that they did indeed. It's going to be a remake, and so I'm excited. I can't wait for this. It should be interesting to see how they approach this, Aspyr Media, because they've not really done a video game before. But I'm excited, nonetheless. Oh, I'm sorry. So in that regards with Aspyr Media, I want to interject and say that I didn't mean to say that this is their first ever video game, but it's their first ever big project in regards to that, because they're known for doing ports.
Okay. Look.
Okay, so in regards to how I found this, I think it was I think I first saw it it was either here or in another server that I'm a part of. But I was notified of it because of a certain Spartan here when he said to me, "Hey, we've got some big news, you'd better check the server." And what do I see? The link to the KOTOR announcement teaser. And I was like, wait, what? So I went and watched it, and even though it was a very short CGI teaser, it got me incredibly hyped. And just as a quick thing, just to back up what General was saying about how this announcement has rocked the internet, I remember, I think it was on the same night as the announcement came out, or maybe it was the night after. It was one of the two, where I was just going to search something up on my iPad, and the top trending search suggestion was the KOTOR remake.
That's something.
And so it's made it as the current top, the current number one trending search suggestion in how many hours has it been since it was announced?
Probably 12, 24, who knows?
So, yeah, clearly this is quite colossal just from a little CGI teaser.
Short teaser, but yet it hyped a lot of people to no end. So, yep, there is that. In my case, let's just say I knew the PlayStation event was going to happen, but I actually did not start watching it because I barely see PlayStation events unless there's like something really interestingly going on. I mean, there is stuff that they usually, but because I'm not a PlayStation 4 or 5 guy, I don't usually pay much attention to them, pay more attention to the Microsoft ones. So there's that. But when one of our members in the server posted a teaser about, Knights of the Old Republic being announced for PlayStation 5, I was like, I saw the YouTuber and it was like, maybe it's not real. And he was asking, is this real? And I was like, maybe it's not real. So that, and then somebody said that it wasn't a PlayStation event. I was like, huh? Okay. Then that's when I pretty much just went to one of the YouTubers that did a live stream of it, because they were live streaming the PlayStation event, and I looked for it. I managed to skip to the part in which the KOTOR teaser starts, and I see it, and I'm like, oh shit, it's a real thing. And then the Knights of the Republic remake, the title shows up, and I was like, holy shit, so this is real? The leaks were true then? Holy fuck, this is something. And yeah, and I definitely was like very, very interested, definitely excited, but with some mild concern, which I'll get to later. But yes, overall, definitely excited for this one. So indeed. So yep, there is that. And next, I think we should talk about what we expect from this remake. What would it do better than the original, and what do we have our own expectations in mind? So, Django, want to go first on what you expect from this remake?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, I know Luke commented on my live stream and something about the combat in regards to, because the combat was really dated in regards to KOTOR 1 and KOTOR 2. And I would generally agree with him. Because, I mean, yes, it is dated, and I think they can do something where they transform the combat from, like, something like Final Fantasy VII or the Final Fantasy series, where it's kind of like
The
the
remake, to be
JRPG
specific.
combat style,
The remake,
where it's like,
in the original Final Fantasy VII, it's still turn-based RPG, whereas
yeah,
the remake is action RPG.
yeah, so that's, no. So what I'm trying to say is that when you attack, then the enemy attacks, so you kind of have to wait in that regard. And then, years later, when the Final Fantasy VII remake came out, the combat is much different. It's much more freeform and more engaging. So I know there was the previous Final Fantasy before, but this will kind of revamp the combat to a whole nother direction. So if they could do something where they can transform the combat in that regards to the remake, from the original to the remake, I think this could be a home run. Like, absolutely. So it should be interesting to see how they approach that.
Yeah, Luke?
My expectations would be having the character and world richness of the original, even if in the case of the latter, well, in the case of both, we don't get the exact same character party or world roster. And the other thing, well, Django kind of said it already, the combat needs a completely different system. Now, when I first played the KOTOR games, I was not keen on the combat, mainly because it's very scripted and there's not much player input involved if you really think about it. Though as I played the KOTOR games more, I've got far more used to it and actually do enjoy it now. But for present day gaming standards, it's not a particularly engaging combat system. So I think they need to include something far more freeform. That's the biggest thing that I think needs changing.
In my case, well, yeah, I say the two biggest things that are holding Knights of the Republic 1 and 2 back for modern day standards are the visuals and the combat gameplay. They're the two main things that need to be addressed. You could even argue they're the only things that need to be addressed, because everything else they can just leave it as it is and just be fine with it. But yeah, the visuals and the combat gameplay are definitely the biggest things. Now, what I'm wondering is, are they actually going to go the Final Fantasy VII remake route, or the Kingdom Hearts route, or the Xenoblade Chronicles route, where they go for a full-on action RPG gameplay, where rather than turn-based, is you actually have full control of the characters and they're fighting, and all the characters and enemies are fighting at the same time? Or will they try to do something like maybe not the KOTOR 1's gameplay style again, but something similar to it, but improved, like for example the Dragon Age Origins gameplay, where it's kind of like Knights of the Republic 1, but it's actually improved in several areas, so it's not as bad as the original KOTOR. But like, who knows what they will do? What do you guys think? Do you guys think they'll actually go the action RPG route akin to Kingdom Hearts Final Fantasy VII Remake? Or they'll go more the improved on the original gameplay style akin to Dragon Age Origins or Inquisition? What do you guys think?
I think they'll go, like you said, the Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy 7 style, because I think that's kind of like the new thing now. And I think if they go with more of just, oh, we're just going to improve the combat in that regards for the first game, I'm not really sure how they would approach that. And I think the Final Fantasy style might be more interesting to see how it plays out, with with 3 or 4 players, or I mean, 4 companions involved with that.
Okay, look.
For me, okay, it's probably a little bit unfair to use these games as a benchmark, but around the time of KOTOR 1 and 2, we had the final 2 entries of the Jedi Knight series, Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy. The great thing about the combat system in those games is that it's 100% freeform. How you approach combat and every move you make in those games, as far as combat goes, is entirely up to the player. Whereas, obviously, with KOTOR, it kind of is like that, but it's nowhere near as freeform, and the extent of freedom you do have is obviously very different, because it's far more tactical, I suppose, with it being a turn-based system. So, yeah, we need a combat system that just gives you far more control overall.
So it seems that both of you guys want this remake to indeed go the Kingdom Hearts / Xenoblade Chronicles route in that case.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the thing is, we're talking about a Star Wars game here, and lightsaber combat is going to be a part of it, and you're not really maximizing the full potential and the fun that you can get out of fighting with a weapon like that with the D&D style combat system that the KOTOR games have, the original ones.
Yeah.
You just can't do it like that, so it needs a change.
Okay, that much is true. So there is that. Okay. The other thing that needs improvement are the visuals. If you ask me, guys, aside from obviously making better looking character models and better looking textures and some other stuff, I think the biggest thing that needs improvement is more diverse character models, because you notice in the original KOTOR game, especially the first one, they pretty much reuse a good chunk of character models, especially for the NPCs, and also use the same animation when they're talking to each other in dialogue. So that I think those definitely need a massive visual overhaul, if you ask me.
I also think that when it comes to the worlds too, because KOTOR 1 and KOTOR 2, it's been like so long. Today's standards, when it comes to exploration, you need to have big, expansive areas. And KOTOR 1 and KOTOR 2 just don't cut it nowadays, even though they're still fantastic. So I think they can do that, and they'll probably add more worlds too. Maybe even Yavin 4, which was just terrible in KOTOR 1. But I'd like to see something like that, or other worlds they could just bring into the mix. You never know.
That would be something. Now that you mention that, I think what they should do, even they don't add new worlds or content, what they should do is make the planets be open world with no loading screens in between the zones. Imagine if they could actually nail that.
That would be incredible.
It will definitely, it will probably make this RPG feel far more like an open world RPG than it's ever been. And the original KOTOR one kind of has the foundations for an open world type, but it's obviously split in between zones and areas with loading screens as well as cutscenes in between. So if they can pretty much just remove the loading screens entirely, especially now with PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X with the solid state drives as well as PC, we could pretty much have a seamless open world with this remake. That would be excellent. That would definitely be a huge... I think that would be a change that everybody would appreciate.
Especially since it's coming out for just the new consoles, PS5 and Series X and Series X later on, and then PC. So in that regards, they're going to have to do that, and I think the consoles will be able to handle that.
So this remake is not going to be on what would now be considered previous gen after the time limit expires?
No, it seems like it's going to be on PS5, later the Xbox Series X and PC and Series S.
Damn it, Sony. Looks like I'm going to have to get a PS5 to play this thing.
You can get it on PC. You can get it on PC, Luke. It's not gonna be just PS5.
Well, dude, I have a laptop, and the laptop I have would definitely not be able to run this thing.
You'll figure out, look, when it comes to platforms. But I have an Xbox Series X, so I'll pretty much be able to do that. The Django, what would you use? Your PC?
I'd use PC and maybe try out the Series X.
Okay. Well, I guess when the Django are ready for that, look, you're gonna have to get a platform soon.
Well, I've got a good year or two, maybe even 3 years before this game comes out. Considering EA still have exclusivity at the moment,
No,
so
they don't have shit. This game can actually come out in 1 or 2 years if Lucasfilm desires. EA has nothing to do with this KOTOR remake.
well, yes, but don't they still have the exclusivity at the minute?
At this point, it means shit. Lucasfilm has been letting Aspyr release ports of old games. They've also been making some backwards compatible games, and not to mention, Ubisoft has already announced they're doing a Star Wars game. So at this point, EA's exclusivity is just meaningless. In fact, to make it even more meaningless, let's just show the previous image we used in the previous video where us three talked about how EA lost exclusivity. Yeah, I'll leave it posted there for a few seconds just so you guys can see that, yeah, EA, no more exclusivity. They can go fuck themselves. They should just deal with their stinking FIFAs and Maddens at this point.
Gotcha. So you guys were talking about smaller aspects that needed improving, like removing loading screens from the worlds and improving things with the NPCs. Another thing with the NPCs that is in dire need of improvement is the sound bites for dialogue, especially in regards to the alien characters. If this remake is going to repeat what the original KOTORs did, with having the alien characters speak a dialect of their own, give us more unique sound bites than just the same old "I can't jump stuck Mickey" over and over again. Please. Because the only thing they did to try and mask the sound bites being different was to change the pitch of the voices.
Or in those very few instances, putting like a specific name in basic, like Bendak Starkiller, if you remember the HUD in Terry saying.
Oh yeah, what was his name? Forgot.
Also, I wanted to say as well that for our expectations, we want the original cast, but if not, it's whatever. But what more can we do? But it looks like Jennifer Hale will reprise her role as Bastila Shan.
So
Nice.
far, most of the original KOTOR 1 cast from the main party is returning, with the exception of Candace Ordo, because the voice actor died in 2017.
Rest in peace.
The voice actor who played Vrook, I think it was, has also died. But either way, most of the original KOTOR 1 voice cast is still alive.
Mm-hmm.
So then, for Candace, do you think Aspyr are going to do what TT did for Lego Skywalker Saga with getting someone that sounded like Harrison Ford for Han Solo and try and find a spot on Candace Ordo sound-alike for this remake?
They could do that, or they could just reuse the original games as voice recordings. Yeah, they could do that too.
But then won't the old dialogue kind of stand out like a sore thumb if the rest of the original voice cast are coming back and the dialogue is going to be re-recorded?
Well, the dialogue clips from the original KOTOR 1 do not sound terrible even to this day. They sound clear, they sound great, even playing nowadays on a modern PC, so they could just take those voice clips and put in the remake. So it's not a case like, say, a Nintendo 64 game or PlayStation 1 where the sound bites were like heavily compressed and heavily like put into the game in order to save memory. In the case of Knights of the Republic 1, that doesn't exist because the PC and the original Xbox could do much more. So, and the voices sound clear, high quality, no issues. So they could literally just rip them and put them in the new game, in the new remake if they wanted.
Yeah. Sorry, I wasn't clear. I'd heard from someone else that the actor who voiced Rook Lamar had also died, not Master Vandar. Yeah, apparently he's gone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely gonna be Yeah, they're definitely gonna have to either find a voice actor that can sound similar to the original, or just use the voice lines from the original.
But most of the main cast are still alive, so that's good. Um, so in regards to Revan, are they gonna just do what the original game did and not have him or her voiced?
I'd say that's probably the best way to go, because if they're gonna be remaking this game, they're gonna have to put the options of choosing the gender, either put male, female, as well as putting the classes. If they literally settle with just giving you a predetermined gender and a predetermined class, people are gonna consider this remake a downgrade compared to the original, because that's basically removal of features, and there wouldn't be a good reason for it.
Okay, so in my intro to this video, I referenced the yes, which you hear every single time you pick, well, pretty often whenever you select your own character in the party. And you get that whether you're male or female. So either for Revan, they won't find any voice actors, or they will and just have them be complete unknowns and have them sound as generic as possible.
They could do that. I mean, to be honest, Revan in Knights of the Republic 1, because he has so very few voice lines that they're like just single word sentences, or they're like short. To be honest, anybody could just voice him and just put whatever lines in there. Like, there's literally no real like need to actually get like the original or anything. They could just do whomever. It's the party cast and the main villain and the notable characters where the original voice actors definitely have to return. Now that is where we need them. Because Revan, he barely had any voice work. Not even notable one, other than just saying yes, what? Like, seriously, there won't be much of him. So they can just put whatever voice actor with Revan for male and voice actors for female. Like, doesn't matter. So there's that. Django, what do you think in regards to the voice actors and also Revan?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting topic to like, does Revan get a voice or not? Because you have a male and female voice, and as back in the times, like, you spoke for that character, and you let the dialogue you pick just kind of do the dialogue itself and speak for itself. So we were used to that. Nowadays, because of like Mass Effect and all the all the big games out there, I think it's gonna go in that direction, and I just don't know if they'll go like just limited to limited to no dialogue whatsoever. But I kind of like the no dialogue stuff, but it would be still like really awkward if they don't talk. So I think in today's landscape, they're gonna have to put that out there that he or she is gonna talk.
They can actually do it without voice work, because there's still some franchises nowadays that they still implement your own character not really speaking in dialogue, even if you choose an option. Mm-hmm. For example, Fallout and the Elder Scrolls are still some of those, and both of them have their own multiplayer like games. So they can actually still find a way. I don't think most people would mind. I mean, it wasn't the original. They wouldn't mind it in the remake. Revan again doesn't talk, or that has very little voice act. I don't think people will mind if they go with that route. Like, it wouldn't be a problem. So and it's not one of the things that gets criticized, the original KOTOR. So they can go with Revan not having a voice or having very, very, very little voice acting. Like, they can go with that. No, there will be no issues. So there's that. Anything else you guys think this remake should do to improve over the original?
Well, one thing I think they should not do is change the music, because I freaking love the music in KOTOR 1. And for the longest time, I thought that John Williams was the composer for KOTOR 1. And it ended up being Jeremy Soule. It just shows how masterful this soundtrack is, and especially the work of Jeremy Soule, who's been involved with Elder Scrolls and other fantastic video game soundtracks, just fantastic composer in general. I just think that soundtrack is a work of art, and one of my favorite video game soundtracks of all time.
Okay.
They're going to change it anyway, but I'd like them to keep that core into this new game.
Look.
For me personally, I agree with Django. I don't think there's any improvement that needs to be done with the music. One of the things that is extremely impressive about the KOTOR soundtrack, for the first game specifically, is that it doesn't lean off of John Williams, apart from the, excluding the trademark Star Wars opening crawl theme. The only snippet of John Williams' work you hear in the KOTOR soundtrack is a little bit of the progression from Binary Sun in Bastila's theme, I think.
Yep.
And it's only a small hint of it. Every other note of the soundtrack for not just that theme, but the rest of KOTOR 1's soundtrack is completely unique. So it would be a shame if they rescored the game, I think.
In my case, well, I definitely agree with both of you. They should not touch the soundtrack. They should keep it as it is. However, there's something I've noticed in recent remakes or even remasters, trend of sorts. Like, they actually do put their own remixed or remade soundtracks. There's a Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy remake, for example. I think the Spyro one did as well. And what else? Oh, and most recently, Sonic Colors Ultimate actually changed the soundtrack as well. Now, those, in regards to Crash and Spyro, the new soundtracks have definitely worked. But in the case of Sonic Colors Ultimate, it's a mixed bag because some new tracks are better, but some new tracks are worse. And the biggest problem that Sonic Colors Ultimate did with the soundtrack is that they had no option whatsoever to revert to the original soundtrack, which some remasters have done, like Turok Dinosaur Hunter, which that one had both the N64 and the PC soundtracks in there, so you could choose either one. So in the case of the KOTOR 1 remake, I'd say if they're gonna remake the soundtrack and they want players to hear it and they like it, cool. If they don't like it, then that's fine. Then I'd say if they're gonna do it, at least put an option to go back to the original soundtrack. Give players options if they can hear the new soundtrack or the old soundtrack. I think that will be the best compromise, because if they just go with the new soundtrack and people don't like it, or there are some tracks that they don't like and there's no option to go back to it, then that's a problem. And we'll pretty much have a Sonic Colors Ultimate repeat in regards to the soundtrack. So
Something that I've literally just thought of now is maybe the soundtrack could be re-recorded, not changing anything, but just going back and recording the original score again with the technology that we have now to make it sound even grander than it did before.
I mean, they could, though, to be honest, there's not really anything you can do to improve that soundtrack. That soundtrack's already masterful as it is, and just putting it in the remake would already work. So, like, there's really no real, like, Django, do you think there's any way that you can improve the original KOTOR 1 soundtrack?
I think there are some ways. I'm not a sound engineer by any means, but I'm sure there are. There's some tweaks you can do and whatnot. So I'm sure there are. I just don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Again, I'm not saying about having them actually touch the pieces and try and change anything. I'm just saying maybe revamp it sonically with today's technology just to make it sound a bit grander, if there's anything they could do in that regard. Again, not changing any of the actual score.
They could do that, but if they can't do anything, just leave it there, and it's already good enough. They don't need to change that. If they're gonna make a new soundtrack or a remix soundtrack of sorts, then they can do it. Just put an option to hear the original, just to give players the option.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, so that will be the best compromise. So there is that. And so, anything else you guys think the remake should do better than the original?
Okay, so there is one thing that I can think of as well. So, as we know, Knights of the Republic is the first game and the second game. Their RPG mechanics this goes back to the combat, very dated. So, as I've experienced with my KOTOR 2 live stream, there is a lot that is not explained in regards to dexterity, strength, combat. That's something that you have to learn yourself, like many, many times after playing many, many times. And even the saves all mechanic, which I still do not understand for the life of me. um, so I think they will simplify it to an extent that everyone can understand, and it's going to be more streamlined, this game, when it comes to putting on clothes and different armor, and there's going to be so many different options. So in that regards, I think they will simplify it, make the combat simpler, the RPG mechanics much simpler, and much easier to understand for everyone to have a good time in playing it.
Okay. Look.
Maybe, again, just looking at combat, one of the most annoying things with the KOTOR games is when you use a force ability and non-force users resist it. Because that happens a lot, especially if your powers are very low in terms of level. So whenever a non-force user resists a pretty powerful attack, it's like, huh? What the hell are you doing? And that's a symptom of the dice roll aspect of the combat system those games already have. And the other thing I would say, maybe tone the boss fights down to make them a bit more manageable so you don't die so much.
Well, that's something. I've yet to die too much, unless it's Malek, or against Uthor and Yutur at the same time. Or the Torrent attacks.
Ugh, those things are a nightmare.
Yeah, there's that. So what I think, I think they'll probably simplify the RPG elements and the combat gameplay with this remake. They'll definitely do it. Wait, if they're gonna be doing a Final Fantasy VII remake / Kingdom Hearts style gameplay, then they're probably gonna have to take some notes from those games in order to see how to implement it. So we'll see how that goes. One thing I do think they should probably do better is in regards to the morality system. If you're light side or dark side. And while it definitely worked in KOTOR 1, it was more so you're a good guy, you're a bad guy. So there is that. I'd say they should take lessons from Mass Effect, you ask me, to make the morality system much more in-depth, have much more meaning to it, be less, oh, you're just a good guy or just a bad guy. Like have more options with that. What do you think, DeJangles, since you're the Mass Effect guy here?
Yeah. I agree with that. Especially if, it's so crazy the difference between KOTOR 1 and KOTOR 2 when it comes to light side and dark side choices. Not so much the choices, but like how you progress through the light side and dark side. It takes quite some time in the KOTOR 1 to go all the way up to the light side, and same with the dark side as well. Maybe dark side is much easier, much quicker. But I think at the end, when you get to all the way to light side or all the way down to the dark side, you get dark side mastery, light side mastery, which is added bonus. I don't think KOTOR 2 had it. I don't remember.
KOTOR 2 did have that.
Oh, it did have it? Okay. Yeah, I don't remember that. But with KOTOR 2, what I don't like is how quickly you progress, like, instantly. I am on the second planet, or I think second or third planet, and I'm already all the way up to the light side. And there's not really going to be much that will change that, but it's like, I hate how, like, I wanted to take some time before I get to that point, and not just be like instantaneously, okay, I'm super OP in the light side, and I have max light side mastery or dark side mastery. Just take some time, ease us into that, and have more, light side choices, dark side choices in regards to that. Because it just, because KOTOR 1 and KOTOR 2, what I liked about it also is like, it's not as clear cut as you think it is, but it's also like, okay, the top choices, number 1 is light side choice, and on the bottom is the dark side choice. Like, I want more, like, you have to figure out which is best for you, no matter what. Like, just kind of, like, hide it into, oh, this is actually the dark side and this is the light side choice.
Which is what I've been saying in regards to doing it similar to the Mass Effect morality system. So that's how they should definitely take some ideas from the later Bioware games, the Dragon Age Origins and the Mass Effect trilogy. See if they can get some ideas in regards to how to do the morality system. That would be a good way to do it.
Something I want to talk about with the morality system, whilst just following on from what you guys have said, in regards to the progression, it's actually quite difficult to get morality points in KOTOR 1 unless you do a lot of the side quests.
Mhm.
Whereas with KOTOR 2, almost every interaction gives you light or dark side points. And with KOTOR 1, there are even some things that give you that give you dark side points if you do the evil thing, but only grant you XP points if you do the good thing. And I've played the game enough times to know that this is one of several examples I can think of. When you encounter Juhani in the Grove, if you choose to kill her, you get dark side points. But if you manage to redeem her, you only get experience points. No light side points for that whatsoever. And I just think, what sense does that make? You go to the trouble of redeeming someone and you don't get good morality for it? What the heck? So, hopefully, this remake is more accepting of giving you morality points beyond doing the side quests, because you don't get very many morality points through just the main story in KOTOR 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that definitely is going to be something that Aspyr's going to have to look into when making the remake. So there's that. Anything else you guys want to discuss that the remake must do to improve on the original?
Just one more. Maybe if they could expand ending choices, perhaps?
I don't think so. Most people want the same two endings. They could probably improve the endings, like maybe have some different way they can shoot it, or at least make it look visually better. But they're not gonna change it story wise. I strongly doubt it.
So you don't think they'll add things like a redeemed Malik ending or something like that?
No, unless okay, unless in regards to something that we'll get to right after this. So, but no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's, I think, all I can think of now.
okay. So I guess now we should get into the current elephant in the room in regards to this KOTOR remake, because it's the one thing that plenty of people are wondering in regards to this. Is this remake going to be canon to the Legends timeline or canon to the Disney Star Wars timeline? Okay, so before we get into the specifics in regards to the information, I'll ask you two your thoughts on that. So, Django, you go first.
Okay. So this is a remake, as I don't remember the exact quote from Aspyr, but this is a remake from the ground up, and in that regards, they're not going to be using it for the Legends timeline. I think this is definitely going to be Disney Star Wars, and they're going to stick to that. The old Legends is not going to stick around. That's meant for the older game, KOTOR 1, KOTOR 2. This is a brand new remake, so it's not going to stick to everything that we want from Legends, and there's going to be a lot of things that are going to be changed, which I'm not going to like. I don't know exactly because I don't follow Disney Star Wars for me, but I know that there's going to be a lot of things that are going to be cut and taken away from KOTOR 1 that is going to appeal to Disney Star Wars. And yeah, see, I don't know what it is exactly, but I have a feeling that a lot's going to be cut out, and I'm not going to like that. That's one big criticism that I have, and I expect it to happen when it comes to the remake.
Okay, look.
For me, I won't be 100% surprised if this turns out to be Disney Star Wars leaning. I don't think it's necessary to make it appeal to just the new canon alone, or to go to be a new canon game, but I'm not against it. I'm not all out against it. I just think that considering this is KOTOR, I think it should remain an EU thing. Though I think the odds are 60 to 40% that it will be a Disney canon game.
Okay. In my case, I'm pretty much more lenient to the Django's mentality. I actually think this should be a they shouldn't. They'll probably do it. In fact, there's already hints they're doing it. But I say they should just leave the story and the continuity alone. Just improve on what the original games suffer from: its shortcomings, the visuals, and the gameplay, and that should be it. They shouldn't be changing anything regarding the story or the continuity unless it's improving on it. Which even then, there's hardly much you can improve. Maybe a few things, but they should just keep it as EU and just keep it as it is. But it will be difficult because okay. So you kind of hinted at this at the beginning of this video, Django, that Jason Schreier and had basically made leaks in regards to the Knights of the Republic remake. So Jason Schreier and IGN, there were the two sources that pretty much said that the Knights of the Old Republic remake was indeed a real thing and was made by Aspyr. They were the first ones that pretty much said that this thing is happening, it's real, and it's coming. It happened back in April 2021, but there was even an older article from IGN from January 2020. So the leaks and remakes have been there for a while. It's just that until we got closer to the actual reveal, the leaks pretty much said, yeah, Knights of the Republic remake gonna be done by Aspyr Media. So there's that. Now, the one thing that these leaks did have was that, like, the leaks pretty much said that this remake was going to pretty much integrate elements from the first two games in order to bring certain things into the current Star Wars canon, which means the new canon, or Disney Star Wars, however you want to call it. And the older article from 2020, it pretty much said that in this new project, as mentioned before, it will take elements from the first KOTOR and Knights of the Republic to the Sith Lords and reorganize the story so that they can fit into the actual canon, which means Disney Star Wars. So those were the info that those leaks had. Now, thanks to the review of the PlayStation event, these leaks turns out they're far more credible than they've been months ago. So the likelihood of them pretty much remaking the story or discontinuity elements, it's starting to lean more into the 60-70% that Luke was talking about. So yeah, and to add even more credibility to this, so if you go to the StarWars.com website, where it pretty much has an article written September 9 regards to Knights of the Old Republic striking back with new remake, there is one portion that has the article saying that KOTOR, which is part of Legends storytelling, dials the Star Wars clock back to over 4,000 years before the Skywalker saga. So that was there, and somebody asked the editor of that article from StarWars.com if that was in reference to the original story of KOTOR or a definitive statement about the remake. And the editor said that section, the one that says, which is part of the Legend storyline, is referring to the original KOTOR version, the original game, not the remake. So this means that whatever articles that StarWars.com says regards to KOTOR being part of the Legend storyline or something, they're mostly talking about the original version. So they're not going to be, they've yet to say, oh, the remake is going to be focusing on, is going to have the same, it's going to be part of the Legend storytelling. Like, no, it's not been confirmed yet. And it's leaning towards it being rewritten for Disney Star Wars. So that's what seems to be the case in regards to the previous leaks that now have more credibility and in regards to the recent information. So what do you guys think of that?
Okay, so again, I don't think it's necessary that they're gonna do this to make it more Disney Star Wars leaning, because if you think about it, this KOTOR remake, by very much implying from what we've got so far that it's going to be a Disney Star Wars leaning project, it's kind of doing what, say, the current Battlefront games, particularly the second one, has done, with using the name of an old IP but altering aspects to make it accommodate what is canon.
That's a bit different. What the Battlefront DA games did is just take the name of an original Star Wars game and put it in their own. They're not actually like remaking them or reimagining them. They just took an old title and put it in their own. That's all they did. It's different. It's not the same.
It's like, it does sort of feel of it being more Disney Star Wars leaning again as I fight against it, and I'm not on this video with the intention of making a big fuss about it. I just think that I understand that it says remake, but taking the name of something and the iconography of something that was part of a previous continuity and altering it, to me that seems like you're taking unnecessary liberties with it. Like, again, I understand that this is a remake, but if you're gonna have the KOTOR name, keep it authentic,
Yeah.
which it doesn't seem like they'll be doing with a fair chunk of this remake.
Mm-hmm. The Django, what do you think?
I'm just with you guys. It's like I just have a really bad feeling. I have a really bad feeling about this. In regards to this game, I'm like, I want this game to be great, fantastic, and I know it's going to be good. But these are things that come out from us as fans, and we want this game to be fantastic. But there are some things, hesitations that we have, and that's something that we have to discuss. And I do think that they are going to cut some things out of the story and revamp it to appeal to the mainstream audience. And it's going to be rather striking and I think it's going to be there's going to be some backlash in regards to that. Maybe it's too early to say. I have no idea. We're just kind of like spitting out whatever. But I have a feeling that it's not going to go the way that
this is not going to go the way we want.
Yeah.
You were going to say think there, weren't you?
Well, no. I was gonna say that in the way that Disney, the backlash might be not the way that Disney or Aspyr Media might expect. If it goes badly, I have no idea.
Okay, so I'll give some ideas in regards to how they can change it. And I've actually seen some of these being discussed in Reddit when it comes to the people discussing if it will be canon or not. So one of the first things they're going to have to change to fit to the new canon, first of all, lightsaber crystals. Because in the original EU timeline, you can pretty much just grab whatever crystal and put it in your lightsaber, and the color of that crystal will pretty much determine the color of your lightsaber. And in the case of Sith, they use synthetic crystals. But with Disney Star Wars, they use kyber crystals, which is different, as the crystal, the color of it, is determined by the Force user's alignment to the Force. Well, if you're a light side user, it will be any color but red, and it also depends on what type of personality or thoughts the specific user has. So it could be blue or green or yellow, whatever. That by itself already has problems, but there's that. And then there's the Darksiders, the Sith, which pretty much they need to bleed the crystals to turn them in red. If they're going to implement that, because that's part of Disney Star Wars, that is going to change a good chunk of the game, in particular getting lightsaber crystals from enemies or specific locations in KOTOR 1. They're going to change it as in you're just going to be getting normal kyber crystals. And they could probably leave the same, like the specific crystals, like the Bondar and the others, that just give like buffs or something to your crystal. But in regards to the color ones, they'll probably make it as in it's a kyber crystal, and you're gonna have to like either that your alignment to the Force probably gonna determine your color. So that will be one way that they have to change it if they're gonna tune it to the Disney Star Wars. Now, if they don't go that far and just leave it as it is, like it was in the original, then I guess that'll be that. But then it wouldn't make sense for Disney Star Wars timeline if they leave it as it is, because it will contradict what's already established. So that's one of the examples. Another one is that according to Dave Filoni, Force Ghosts cannot really exist, at least in regards to the Sith. But in KOTOR 1, we've seen plenty of Sith Force Ghosts, in particular in Korriban. So, then again, Dave Filoni himself has contradicted in Disney Star Wars. By the way, for those wondering, we have 2 videos discussing Disney Star Wars contradictions. So we delved into this in detail in there. So I'll put a tab here on YouTube so you can see those videos if you want. But so far, yeah. So those are 2 examples in how they have to pretty much accommodate this remake for this timeline. There's a few others, but those are 2 of the examples. And some others would also have to involve stuff like the hyperspace skipping and hyperspace RAM and some other stuff. So those are some ways that they'd have to either try to make the remake fit into the already established continuity, or they could just leave it as it is. But if they say it's part of the new canon, then there's going to be some issues, because if they just leave the KOTOR 1 remake as it is, story and continuity wise, and they say it's part of the new canon instead of part of the Legends canon, that is going to be a problem, because it's just not going to be mixed whatsoever, because all details of the Jedi references and sources that are mentioned in KOTOR, they're not going to make any sense whatsoever in the new canon, because they don't exist, as well as several other characters, like, because Knights of the Republic 1 was made around the expanded universe timeline. It has plenty of references and sources in regards to not only Tales of the Jedi, but several other things in the EU timeline. And they'd have to pretty much either tweak or remove a good chunk of them if they're gonna make this remake appear, pretty much be part of the Disney Star Wars timeline. Like, they'd have to change a lot of it, which what do you guys think of that, Luke?
Considering, I mean, you mentioned about how KOTOR was meant specifically as part of the EU, and obviously there's a lot of Tales of the Jedi references in KOTOR,
Many.
with name drops of characters like Exar Kun, Nomi Sunrider, I think
Caldroma.
equipment. Yeah, I think equipment related to Ulic Qel-Droma can be found in the game. And you've also got Mandalorian characters that are referenced, i.e. Cassius Fett, which kind of leads on to something that must be on the list of details that you're looking at, the Mandalorian Wars.
Which, so far, the Mandalorian Wars have not even happened in Disney Star Wars, as far as I know.
So if there are references to the EU Mandalorian in this KOTOR remake, despite the sources that you've quoted so far saying it appears to be more of a new canon leaning project, well, that event doesn't exist in the new canon continuity in any way, so snag, maybe, if they keep things as they are.
Yep. The Django?
I mean, I mentioned this before, but yeah, I mean, they're going to change some things on the story, and I just have a feeling that they're going to change something like the big reveal and change that aspect, because it was, I mean, yes, it is predictable. I mean, the first time you play it, it's not predictable, but once you play it again, you can see it, like, yeah, it's pretty predictable. So I think they're probably going to change some aspects like that to make it more suspenseful, because, like, everyone knows at this point that you're playing Revan, and your character doesn't know it until the end of the game, or towards the end of the game, I should say. And yeah, I just have a feeling they're going to change pieces like that, and we'll see. We'll just see how it plays out.
I actually don't. Well, in regards to changing it substantially, I actually don't think it's those types of pieces that they're going to be changing. I'm actually thinking something more like, for example, when you're exploring the Sith Lord tombs in Korriban, they're going to change it so that, for example, the tomb of Mark Aragnus, you're exploring that, and you find like log entries and stuff detailing to what he did or what happened before. Or Juntapal, for example, that you go in that tomb, or the Naga Sadah one, and in the Juntapal one, you even encounter a Juntapal in there. So, like,
Yeah.
those types of moments in the game, those are the ones that I'm thinking that they're gonna either change, or if they leave them as it is, but they say the game is part of the new canon, that is gonna be a big problem. So
Have the four ancient Sith whose tombs you explore in Korriban, so the Sith Lords themselves, Ajunta, Naga, Marka, and Tulak Horde. So the characters themselves, Ajunta, Marka, Tulak, and Naga, are those four Sith Lords even name dropped anywhere in Disney Star Wars? Never mind their tombs.
Tulak Horde has no mention of him whatsoever in Disney Star Wars. And in regards to others, well, Juntapal, he does exist in Disney Star Wars, but he's an unidentified rogue Jedi. So
What about Marka and Naga?
Okay, Marker Ragnos, no mention whatsoever in Disney Star Wars. So there's that. Nagasadao, he appears in Disney Star Wars, but okay, so according to Wikipedia, he's like an ancient Sith Lord who, according to the quasi-historical Keldroma epics, led the Sith Empire during the Great Hyperspace War against Emperor Seth and the Jedi Order, while also triggering the Kron Supernova. Wait. They're literally copying beat to beat Tales of the Jedi at this point. Are they actually doing that? Is that is that their way of making this remake like tie into this Star Wars by literally like the entire Old Republic era literally being beat to beat Tales of the Jedi? Is that what they're doing?
Okay, guys, we didn't stage this. This search that General is doing now is literally happening on the fly.
I'll show the image here. Like, I'll show the image of Nagasadal's entry so you can see it.
Right. So Tulak doesn't exist in Disney Star Wars. Naga and Marka kind of do. Oh, and Ajunta. The other three kind of do, but they're nowhere near authentic enough to their Legends incarnations for them to justify keeping it in the Legends continuity. Is that what you're telling us?
That's what it seems to be. So far, what they're doing with, especially Nagasadao, they're just taking what they did in the EU and just putting in this Star Wars. They're barely changing anything.
Well, okay, so Naga you may be able to get away with, but Tulak, Ajunta, and Marka, not really. Oh gosh.
What do you think of this, Django?
Yeah, not a fan of that. I mean, it was pretty big to explore the Sith tombs, and I mean, they were pretty intricate to Revan's story as well. And finding out the history of the Sith there, Ajunta Paul was like, that was just very emotional, way to redeem Ajunta Paul in a way. A Sith Lord, a Dark Lord of the Sith. I'm guessing he was, I don't remember.
It was.
But, yeah. To cut off a line like that, that's pretty messed up. That's not cool in my book at all. So they'll have to make it up with other Sith Lords or something, like, just to make it up for that. But to not have it to that amazing storylines like that, to something like, I mean, that was like prime Bioware back at the time. Great storytelling. We'll see how I approach it.
And I take it that none of the Sith Lords who actually existed during the period of KOTOR are confirmed as canon in Disney Star Wars either. So Uthar, Euthera, the Sith students who encounter like Lasho, Kel, Dustil, etc.
Uthar has no canon equivalent so far. Euthura also has no canon equivalent. They're stuck in the EU.
So the notable Sith Masters from the original KOTOR are definitely going to get replaced.
They could get replaced, or they're gonna make their new canon versions of them. Same goes for Dustil Onasi, because he also has no canon equivalent.
Then again, I take it Karth doesn't either.
Karth Onasi, in regards to him, he has no canon equivalent either. And the same goes for Saul Karef.
So either these characters that people love in KOTOR are going to be reinterpreted for this remake, or they're going to be outright replaced.
Yes.
I
doubt they'll go the big route and replacing characters like Karth Onasi or Saul Karef because how intricate they are to the main story. But in regards to smaller ones, like for example Dustil or even Uthor and Euthura, those they could change. Yeah. So they could find a way to change those. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at least it's present day Bioware behind this project.
Well, I mean, that is good, but it is still concerning that they're even thinking of changing stuff to fit to a new canon. Because, okay, I gotta ask you guys, Is there any good reason of making this remake, make it tailored to the Disney Star Wars? Why can't they just remake it for the EU timeline? Like, do you guys think it was necessary? Or they could have just, hey, let's remake the original KOTOR one, let's just keep the storyline, the continuity as it is, and put it in the EU timeline. Like, do you guys think they could have just done that? Because I think they should have just kept it as it is.
I mean, you would think, but just to appeal to that new canon timeline, I mean, they have to consent to that, and it depends on how I think it's Lucasfilm feels about everything, and because they're strictly with their timeline too, and they're not going to appeal to the Legends timeline anymore. I mean, there's no really any point for them at this, so they're going to stick with that, I think.
And so far, we've seen hints that they want to make the remake be tied to Disney Star Wars instead of the EU, which it's sad. And so far, we haven't seen Lucasfilm give any real bones or any or given anything to the EU community, because all they've given the EU community besides SWTOR expansions is some ports of old Star Wars video games, mostly from Aspyr, backwards compatible OG Xbox games in the Xbox Series X and S and Xbox One, and also selling some old Star Wars games on PC, and Star Wars Marvel 108, and that's it as far as I know.
And recycling old EU novels and comics with the Legends banner on them.
Oh yeah, that too. So that's as far as I know they've been doing in regards to appealing to the EU crowd. They seem to be more interested in appealing to the new canon crowd, which
given that it's using an EU property's name, again, I'm not. It seems like I'm wholly against them making this new canon oriented, which I'm not. But I strongly think that it was not necessary for them to do this, if that's what they're going to do.
To be honest, I think it will be fine if they just come out and say, yeah, guys, we're reimagining the story and the continuity, fitting it into this Star Wars. If you like it, cool. If not, then there's that. Then we'll at least make the original have new ports for the modern platforms. At least be straightforward with that instead of keeping us in the loop and us having to find through unofficial sources for this.
We might get official confirmation as to exactly what continuity this will reside in, though again, from what we're hearing by these little whispers, it seems to be new canon based. Maybe when we get a proper trailer for this remake. Because of course that 30-second teaser only showed us Revan and had a quote or two from the Sith code. That's it. So you can't determine where this will lie based on that alone.
There's that indeed. We have to wait until as you said, until we see either a trailers, particularly a story trailer, or until they pretty much come out and say, yeah, this is Star Wars oriented.
Or they give us a gameplay demonstration of sorts that shows iconography of whatever timeline you're in.
They'll probably do the same planets. I don't think they'll change the planets. They'll change smaller details, or at least details that are not so apparent right off the bat. Except for maybe the Sith Lord tombs in Korriban. They'll probably be the one big one. So there is that. So yeah, until they say that it... I think the number one thing that will say, yeah, they're pretty much doing it, is when they say this is set in the Legends timeline or this is in the new canon timeline. When they say that alone, that will pretty much confirm it. So there is that. Anyway, anything else you guys want to say here?
No. Aspyr, I have only 4 words for you. Don't screw this up.
Well,
don't fuck it up.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're gonna go all angry. Say you're done. You
done fucked it up.
Yeah, and we have to say that we're looking forward to this game. As much as criticism as we give it, we're looking forward to it. We love Aspyr Media. We love what they've done with the KOTOR games, remastered them and put them in mobile, and did fantastic mobile ports. Who would think that would actually work out? But They're fantastic. Android or Apple, and they did KOTOR 2. I think they're planning to do KOTOR 1 eventually. That still hasn't been done on Steam. Did a fantastic job with the ports. So I think giving them the property of giving them the KOTOR 1 remake job, I think that's pretty freaking awesome, and that's just going to be a lot of work for them. I don't know how they're going to really do it, but they're going to definitely need some help and in regards to that. Maybe they already have the team. I don't know, but we'll see how it goes.
So far, it's been confirmed that they do have the team, actually. The interview says that they pretty much that it's one of the biggest projects they've done, and that they had to assemble several people and key staff from other parts of the gaming industry to actually help in this. So it's pretty much confirmed that they do have the team.
Okay. And so this is like kind of like a make it or break it. So it's like if good job with this, then they could do more Star Wars games in the future, which is great for them and great for us. That's exactly what we want. But if they screw it up, then good luck doing any other Star Wars projects. And if you fuck it up, also to a legendary, already a legendary game, then everybody's gonna hate on you relentlessly.
There's that, yeah. Now, as far as I know, most people that have pretty much been hyped up or are excited for the KOTOR game. If you notice in the PlayStation event trailer for KOTOR, most people in the comment section and those that have been doing videos, with the exception of the Star Wars YouTubers, most of them are more on the casual Star Wars fan side. Because KOTOR 1 is popular even outside the Star Wars fandom. It's popular in gaming circles, in particular Bioware fan groups. Even those that talk purely about Dragon Age and Mass Effect, they also know about Knights of the Old Republic 1, and they pretty much also like it. Like, Knights of the Old Republic 1 is probably the most popular Star Wars game outside of the Star Wars fandom, with the only other one I could think of would be Star Wars Battlefront 2, the original, and Battlefront 2, because Battlefront 2 EA, that's popular for the wrong reasons. So there is that. So I don't know if those people will care if they make the continuity changes to fit into this in Star Wars, but I know hardcore KOTOR 1 fans and EU fans will definitely not like it. I know those two crowds will not like it at all.
Even people with only a cursory knowledge of the in-universe lore that predates KOTOR in Legends will notice if they alter anything for the current canon with this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, indeed. The Django?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably one of those people.
Your knowledge is not cursory, so you would definitely.
Oh, that's what you said. Okay, never mind.
I said that even people who have a cursory knowledge of the EU lore that predates KOTOR chronologically will probably be able to pick up on details that have been changed. But you, sir, I think your knowledge of the Tales of the Jedi stuff and things like that is a bit more than cursory.
Yeah. Nothing else to add then.
Okay, then I guess now we go into the conclusion of this. So, final thoughts on this. We'll go with the Django. You first.
Okay, so I think I did this already, but I will just reiterate that we are looking forward to this game. I think this game is definitely going to be a really big Star Wars title that everyone is looking forward to on our team, especially for me. So we'll see how they approach this. I think this is probably going to be a couple of years before this comes out. I don't believe it's going to come out next year. I hope they take their sweet time because they're building this from the ground up. And this is going to be the most anticipated Star Wars video game yet. So it will be interesting to see how they approach this. So I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait.
Okay, look.
Aspyr, you've got a massive, massive weight on your shoulders. And if you screw this up, the heat you will endure on social media will be even deadlier than the lava on Mustafar, okay? So don't screw this up. Treat this thing with care, first and foremost. and give this game a good amount of marketing in all the time we'll be waiting for it. GT Games and WB, how about you take a page from
don't worry.
a better marketing book?
Don't worry. Unlike the Skywalker saga, this game, just even a mere logo can pretty much put hype on the freaking trending charts.
Yeah, I know. I mean, the hype is already off the rails for this as is. Currently, the Knights of the Old Republic remake is the #1 trending search suggestion on Google.
Mm-hmm.
And this little teaser has only been out for, what, a day or two? 2 days. So in 48 hours, you've made this project the most active topic of discussion right now, topic of interest as far as the internet goes at the moment. If that doesn't tell you how much pressure Aspyr have got on their shoulders, I don't know what does, and it's all a question now of whether or not they'll be able to live up to the hype.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Is that it?
Yes.
Okay. In my case, well, definitely very excited for this remake. I definitely want to see it be very good, because Aspyr's work with Star Wars previously, I definitely really liked it. In fact, it's thanks to them that we were actually able to record Star Wars Episode 1 racer footage for our Defending the Phantom Menace video. So we actually kind of owned them for having more than just Battlefront 1 and Battlefront 2 footage on that video. So yeah, on some ways here at State of Star Wars, we actually do own them for some things, but thanks to their ports. And so yeah, definitely we really do enjoy their work on Star Wars, in particular to the ports or even remasters. So there's that. In regards to this remake, we definitely hope that it is definitely a pretty great remake. Definitely improve on the visuals and the gameplay. Those are the ones that need more improvement the most. So, and a few other things. The story and the continuity, that's the one thing that we're still concerned about, but we'll have to see how that turns out. So there is that. We'll keep an eye on this. And so that's as far as I know. Now, when we get closer to the release date of KOTOR, that's when State of Star Wars will definitely tackle both Knights of the Old Republic games in podcast form. But that will be like, 1-2 years? We'll have to wait until even a release date's announced. So it will be a long time for that. But until now, well, we'll see you guys on the next State of Star Wars video. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
May the Force be with you, everyone.